Pierre-Auguste Renoir, a so-called impressionist, was a constant reference for Picasso. In 1919, a few months before he died, Renoir asked Paul Rosenberg, one of his art dealers and Picasso's only, if he could meet the young painter. Renoir was both astonished and horrified by Picasso's paintings. But the two painters had much in common. They loved antiquity and old masters including Ingres, Delacroix, Manet, Cezanne, and they each had a passion for the flesh. This encounter never happened, but Picasso did draw a portrait of Renoir from a photo. Renoir had become an old man whose fingers and hands were deformed by rheumatisms, who was so thin that sitting was painful, but he still managed to paint almost every day. At this late stage in his long life, Renoir lived in a country house in the Côte d'Azur hinterland in Cagnes-sur-Mer. He bought it in 1882, and on its vast grounds, he set up not one, but two studios among the olive trees. Cagnes-sur-Mer is just a few miles from the many places where Picasso spent his summers and lived. Did Picasso visit Cagnes-sur-Mer after Renoir's death? We are not sure. But the opportunities were abundant. Jean Renoir, the painter's son, a filmmaker, and Dora Maar's friend, might have welcomed Picasso when he vacationed in Mougins. Later in the 50s, Henri Matisse, who lived nearby in the neighborhood and was a mutual friend, might have introduced him to the wonderful property. Nevertheless, Picasso bought a small canvas by Renoir representing the Colettes in 1959. Les Colettes was an area surrounded by hills, isolated in a large terrain covered with old trees with a view of the Mediterranean. The landscape resembles Notre-Dame de Vie, Picasso's final home that he bought in 1961 in Mougins. Breathing the same air Renoir once breathed, Picasso paid homage to the past painter. Renoir loved the olive trees, their shape, colors, and light. To him, they represented the strange Mediterranean culture. Their frugality encapsulated a way of life he loved. It was their survival and permanence that captured his imagination. As an old man, he painted his young naked models almost frolicking outside under the shadow of the trees. In 1963, Picasso, growing old, ironically depicted an artist painting a mostly nude model in his garden.